Yo, good morning, everybody. Man, have y'all seen the firestorm of Top Step? And it's like everyone's, there's been some not so great things happening lately. But hey, it's kind of the way it is, right? Yeah, there's other firms. Yeah, hopefully you guys had a good weekend, good start to your week. Let's look at some of the news. Just ship stays far away as possible. Yeah, we got to keep tabs on this. Man, I think some of these firms got wrecked by gold and silver. People are saying that that's part of what's happened, but stuff's been kind of spiraling for the last couple of months with Top Step. So it's unfortunate. I have a couple of students that have Top Step. I'm with Top Step. Yeah, some of the conduct had me switch to Tradeify, and they're pretty amazing, right? And if they're not ever giving discounts or whatever, I am partnered with them. You can use the code to get some discounts if you want, or not, right? It's up to you, but that option's there for those that may need it. Sometimes they're not going to be showing that there's a deal going on, yet people that are partnered with them have access to the best deals pretty regularly. So good morning, George. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go run to the bathroom real quick. Yo, I'm back. Let me know if y'all can hear me okay. Just want to make sure. Can you guys see everything okay? How's the quality? It says things are good on my end, but before we fully get started, if you could let me know. Can y'all see everything okay? Like the small letters? Should be a fun session. All right, thank you, George. So yeah, there's news at 5:30. We are the day before NFP. And then, of course, CPI is on Friday. So it's going to be a pretty crazy rest of the week. So you want to be pretty prepared for this. We'll see what happens. We're always able to find something, though, right? So, yeah. So we'll be waiting for that. Again, this is still pre-market open. Because the news is early, sometimes the range gets started a little earlier. And if it rips from 5:30, you can rest assured that the 6:30 that comes out right at the New York Open, it'll try to get below, if it's bullish, it'll try to get below the open price. And the best situation, if this is going to be bullish, we want to see price get below and maybe hang out a little bit below the open price right at the open of New York, as well as the daily open. That's ideally the best idea. It is range bound. It's a good thing that we've had basically a sideways London, so we don't got to be too concerned about a fast-paced London reaction going into New York. It was a pretty large range yesterday too. Wasn't that an amazing? For those of you that are in my private group, wasn't that amazing? We called 4 moves yesterday, and that's it was pretty pretty interesting day. For those that aren't in the private group, whoops. Ay. Why is it doing that? Should we cut this one? I got in that one. I called this one as well. I said we got to watch the breaker. When you go to the lower time frame, there was a wick that went right into this. That was beautiful. There was SMT at the lows with the S&P. London low was taken, and then London's high was taken. I think Sunday's high got met too. Did it? Yeah. So that's awesome, right? Pays to be around people that know what they're talking about. A lot of students did good too. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen for this session. We got the bonds going higher. That's a good sign for bullishness. Okay, we got the other 3 indices as well going on a pretty savage recovery mission. There is still S&T at the highs. But it just seems like the Nasdaq is being the lagger, right? It's very much lagging behind. Maybe it has to do with tech, right? The investments and whatever in data centers. Bottom line's kind of getting shrunk a little bit. But yeah, so we got this delivery lower. We shouldn't expect to see this fair value gap get met for the Dow. It doesn't have to, right? Especially if, we're going to be bullish. We've already did a lot of trading from this high to that low, followed by a displacement that's now broke outside of the range. So maybe it looks to come and clean up, or wait, it's actually, let's see. I think it hit exactly to the high. Yeah, there's like a tiny little piece that hasn't been traded to. I mean, they could still go down there, give that a wick, and then try to continue. But we're going to have to obviously see. If we get below the 50% of this for the Dow, that could potentially happen. It has been the start of the new week. It has been bullish. We did drop below the open price here, and prices basically got up above this. I talked about the other day. Let me go pull up the right chart. I did talk about the other day on Sunday too. The breaker here that we have to watch, trading into that caused a little bit of high resistance. It's still got above Sunday's high though. We do have, what was this? I can't remember what that was. Oh, it's the suspension block. So we have this suspension block here. We have the wick midpoint that we're kind of hanging around. We have the 50% of this bearish breaker. In order for us to really trust that we're now back in line with the narrative, we have to get price changing the state of delivery away from this. So we'll be monitoring to see if that's going to unfold, right? But as long as it stays below this, there is a risk, right, of it eventually just turning into, just a retracement to then continue going lower. We do have these equal lows down here long term. Long term being like the next week or so, couple weeks. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind. This is a new day opening gap in there. I mentioned this order block up here too, right? We got the upper portion of that. We could trade down into it. In order for us to be confident in the bearishness, we're going to have to start breaking down because, look at this wick here going into this order block. It's very similar to how this behaved. And look what resulted as a result, right? This liquidated too, right? It came down, liquidated that low, and then changed the state of delivery here, and then rallied up. And now we kind of got a similar tone in the marketplace with the other three indices going pretty aggressively to the buy side, the S&P, the Dow. We do have the DXY giving a pretty solid nosedive in here. It is inside of this bullish order block, but unless we start trading back above and get beyond this gap here, right, the DXY may look to continue to drop. We have an inversion fair value gap here too. Oh, whoops. So yeah, we'll see what transpires. Some of the observations though. So maybe price opens up. Maybe it wants to sweep some London lows. Let's go see where the London low is. We got Asia's low. I wouldn't be surprised if we come down into this line right here or this one. That's a standard deviation from Asia's or central bank dealers range in Asia. So you do have a little projection and you can kind of get a feel for where it could go to. Whoops. In terms of power 3. The dollar has a new day opening gap here. Yeah, I'm going to need a lot for the dollar to be trustworthy going to the buy side, right? Because it just looks like it's reacted from this breaker, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, the liquidity that's significant for those of you that have been with me for a while. We got the buy side up here. Whoops. Okay, and then we got sell side down there. If price is going to be bullish, we do not want to see this high to that low get violated. All right. So we're going to wait for this news event to come out, and we'll make more of a determination. But for the most part, what we have so far, across the board, it looks like things are still not done going to the buy side. So that's going to be what we're trying to anticipate potentially. It is the start of the week, and it has created a high. So we do got to see how this range, like I said, is going to be respected or not. If it breaks through this 50%, that puts us in a market maker sell model going to the downside here. And then we'll see, right? This wick in here pretty solidly was respected, right? It traded into it. That's very sensitive. So we're going to have to, again, see if we could stay above the 50% here. And if we do stay above this 50% level, because again, this high to that low, if you go up into the larger time frames, it's an order block. We also have a large wick in there too. So, and that's 75% ironically of the high to the low. We got that 50% of that wick, which is also at this daily wick 50%. And then we also got the breaker here. So again, the more that this gets violated, the more confident we can be in the fact that this is a market maker buy model. And then eventually price may try to explore up into these highs up here. We definitely don't want to lose this low. All right, if we lose that low, especially if it's a displacement, this again is a breaker. This up movement here is an order block. It's also a breaker in itself, right? This down candle. Go down to some of these lower time frames, you could kind of see that high taken, and then a low violated. It's a double change in state too on that 4-hour chart. I think it's even higher. It was too. One here, and you notice that it respected that. All of this was just a wick into this order block, rejecting this here too. So all of that led to the decline. And now, like I said, we have failed to take this low out. We got the dollar aggressively pushing lower. So now you got to see this wick here. Is it going to respect the 50%? If it is bullish, that's the type of stuff we want to be seeing. Okay. Oh, WMG is weird for copywriting my videos. You are clearly a clown, so you will be dealt with expediently. Yeah, I appreciate the engagement. One day candle strong. So I can't pronounce your name. Because I'm not sure, was it Korean, I think? But essentially, the way we do things here, we don't just talk buy and sell. We wait for price to come to us, and then we decide. I've done a very in-depth analysis from Sunday. So at least for the future, definitely show up on Sunday so that you can get the full breakdown, because I can't go over every single detail, especially 5 minutes before a news event. But essentially, in a nutshell, right, I want to see if we can keep this going higher because all the other assets are moving higher. You didn't have to. So I didn't mean to make you feel like you had to remove your comment. Just a like an awareness note. I know you may be new, and you didn't have to delete your message. But yeah, you never really want to just assume like, okay, are we buying right now or selling right now? You have to wait and let price speak to you. But overall, this huge recovery here with the dollar going lower, that generally leads to price continuing to go higher, right? And if we're going to see price go higher, things that support that are going to be down close candles being supported, seeing the wicks here being supported, right? And then seeing fair value gaps getting traded through. Okay. We also have the breaker here, some of the upper PD arrays. We want to see if those are going to be targeted as well. And if they get violated, even better, right? So yeah. So our main focus is going to be how that low I mentioned earlier is going to be treated, right? Like this low here. We want to see if it can run down, sweep that, and then respect the 50% here, like I mentioned a second ago. If we get that to be respected and price can't break back outside of this breaker to the downside on this higher time frame, then we'll be able to watch a displacement and then find a move going in the buy side direction, especially if DXY continues to drop. DXY has been pretty aggressive to the downside, so maybe they look to pull it back a little bit. When we open up right out the gate, ripping to one direction, right? We got to think power 3 for the weekly range. And if we rip aggressively on the first couple of days, generally everybody's trying to go in that direction. So what happens generally is they pull price against some liquidity. That could be a cause for this to decline and try to take some of this out. Again, as long as it respects this, we'll be able to continue to see if price can go higher if we can get displacement back in that direction. What's up, Rodri? ES took it. Already took it. Let me see. Oh, yeah, it did right there, huh? Yeah, ES has the same type of scenario too, right? We got the lower movement, right? Kind of respected this this high here, right? The down movement, right? Price came down into it, wicked. So this may be a market maker buy model. If it is, we should be very light in terms of retracement here. It already took that low, like you mentioned, Rodri. There is SMT already. And again, we have the 50% of this wick here. It should be able to act as a support level, leaving this as a balanced price range. Okay. Friday's high. So yeah, Friday's high was taken there. See that? They kind of left Friday's low. Yeah, they left Friday's low. Yeah, so again, if it's bullish, right, if this is going to continue the way we validate and trust it, you know, we got to watch what this breaker level is going to do. If we get displacement that breaks this low from that bearish breaker and maybe DXY can recover a little bit, then we'll be able to get in line with the down movement. But for now, I'm going to stay on the side of trying to observe this continuing to go higher. Plus, again, we have this daily bullish order block. So there's lots of reasons for us to try to see if price can keep going higher. Again, a risk, though, is the fact that we've went so fast so early. Like the low wasn't set on a Tuesday or Wednesday at the moment. Right, we're in Tuesday, and we've already set a low on Monday. Because it was fast, like I said, there is a risk of it taking that out. Plus, we're ahead of NFP, CPI. So another factor that could play a role is we're at the center, right, or close to equilibrium from this high to that low. So ahead of the news event, if nothing happens off of, you know, the news that we have, right, or today just doesn't decide to really do much, it'll basically be a testament to the fact that when we're trading a day before some of these big news events, price can be a little bit chaotic. The Dow is in a range too. This is actually a range-bound environment for now. Price is going sideways. So again, we wait for the macros too for anyone that's new, right? We wait for the macros that ICT teaches to take an execution because we go off time then price. Time being macros, kill zones, but specifically macros and news events and whatnot. And then also the price element, which is PD arrays and liquidity. Simple as that. So if one of those is not in alignment, like if we see a PD array that's not in line with the time element, we're not going to look to take a trade. Sometimes we do, like if the macro sets up and it sends price and it's a logical setup from that time window, then maybe we can catch a continuation if it makes sense because it's already rooted in time and price prior to the move taking off, right? So yeah, hopefully what my objective is makes sense. Now, in terms of upside objectives for the Dow, we got these equal highs. You could simply aim for that. For the Nasdaq, we have these equal highs. And again, there's SMT here. With the S&P being the slow mover, right? Or showing that it has a less likely or less interest compared to the Dow and the Nasdaq to go higher, right? It still may go higher, right? Like I said, there's a lot of things that are lining up with the fact that we may see a bullish move. And then, of course, we got the balanced price range here and some of the other things that I mentioned. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to still see if there's an argument for that. We got a fair value gap in here. Actually, go to the other chart. And we got the currencies returning into this too. There is SMT on the currencies. We've been looking for this to go higher. Looks, so far, we've been correct. If that's the case, with DXY dropping and the bonds going higher, all of that supports the indices taking a rise and going higher, right? Market symmetry seems to be in line, at least for now. So that's a good thing. And we're going to ride that. So yeah, until it proves otherwise, right? So yeah, in a nutshell, that's my perspective. That's what I'm trying to see. If things change, right, we'll be able to adjust. I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. But let's, at the moment, see how this is going to be treated here. We do have equal lows here. It did take out this liquidity, and we do have SMT at the lows. So generally, when price has an SMT at a significant level like this, right, this high to that low, we're also kind of dancing around this daily wick. So we want to see that potentially act as an inverted PD array, especially if it gets above it. If it comes back down into it, if we're bullish, characteristics that show that we're bullish are PD arrays being violated like this, and then returning back into them, using them as inversions. Again, if we violate, just so you guys are clear on the invalidation and when I would potentially look to adjust my perspective, right? If we invalidate this in here, so what's that line? Oh, that's equilibrium, this line, for the larger range from the high up here to the low. But if we invalidate this delivery in terms of holding this down movement for bullishness up to the 50% level, if it just displaces through it, then we have to consider things like these relative equal lows. We may consider this as a market maker sell model, and that would just get us back in line with the narrative that the breaker here, right, this red box in here, right, that breaker level is going to be respected potentially. And then we'd also have, in that case, this wick respecting price as a resistance level, which would further support that we're still not done going lower. Okay, so again, all of that gets considered when we break down below this level here. Because we are inside of this higher time frame PD array, being the breaker here. See, is it encapsulate? Yeah. Because of that being the facts, and that's where we're at in price, you have to be cautious of it. You have to be aware of it. And if it reacts, then great. Right? And then we could just catch a continuation. This in itself, if we get down below the lower portion of this low to that high, we would look at that as a market maker sell model. But for now, we're just simply looking to, you know, hang around. We got this SMT. So this is a similar thing that happened yesterday, right, with this low. Right, this low here, there was bullish SMT with the S&P, where the S&P was rising quickly. And so as a result, we were able to get in line with something like this, right? And point out 4 opportunities real time with my private group, in which a lot of students were able to engage. So yeah, we'll see if that same phenomenon happens. I do want to start to see like things like this get overtaken. If we go from this low to that high, if it respects this level and then breaks this low here, right? we may look to dig a little bit deeper. But again, overall through the session, we don't want to see this price level get taken. Okay. So I hope that's clear. Hopefully you guys understand what our objective is, what we're looking to see. And yeah, it's not really much more than that, honestly. Do you guys have any questions? We did just see the news event come out. Price is not really doing anything. We do have a shift in market structure here. So we could see from this high to that low. If the midpoint can't be traded through, right? We attempted it here. We also have this stop run running up above this high. So this high and that low seems to be acting as a bullish breaker. It is also below the daily open price. But again, we are still not really doing much. So yeah. So off of a large range day, a lot of times we can see a small range day, right? Especially before a news event. So that's something we do got to keep in mind if, we start to see that price isn't doing much. Yeah, y'all have any questions? Yeah, what's happening with Top Step is unfortunate. I have a Top Step account. I've had it for a year and a half. I've had a lot of problems with them though. And it's unfortunate. So yeah, we're approaching a macro, the 550 macro. Again, we are above the daily wick 50% level. This high to that low, if we break beyond the 50%, you could take this candle here as a second stage distribution level. So if it can have the energetic price delivery to get up there, that may be a cause for price to rip above this high. Again, we do got relative equal highs up there. Yeah, again, that's assuming that we break through this, right? If this reacts from this and then gets below this low, although there's an SMT here, it may look to try to break that. If we can break below this open portion here of this up candle, because then that'll be what we call a double change in state of delivery. I would have much rather preferred that this high was taken though, if that was the case. We do got SMT there too, huh? So we got two SMTs. One there and then one at the lows. So in that case, you got to look at what DXY is doing. And DXY looks like it's going to continue its market maker sell model. Because we broke this level here, we broke that low, we should not expect to see price get back above it. It shouldn't do any of that if we're going to keep pushing this price delivery lower. So if it gets above this, you got to be cautious. We do have a breaker here that I talked about yesterday. Pretty beautifully reacted. So clearly looks like it's a part of a smart money reversal. And if that gets upset and price gets up into this level, we just go to a market maker buy model. And then we'll see this order block here. Whoops. We would see this order block here as a trustworthy bounce, right? Or a trustworthy support level. But yeah, for now, it looks like we're simply looking to target lows, and this was a retracement like we talked about in the Sunday call. The last two Sunday calls, I talked about this being respected. So yeah, nothing's really changed except the fact that the indices have, really exploded, which again is in sync with the bearish DXY. So So yeah. So we'll see what it wants to do. Yeah. First and foremost, I need this to be taken out. Because then we got a stop run, we have SMT, and then we got an inversion fair value gap. Then in that case, if we get price to run up, overtake this, and then break another order block, that'd be a double change in state as well. And I would really like to see if something can set up from that framework, especially if DXY keeps going lower and the other indices continue to go higher. So essentially that's all I'm really paying attention to right now. Yeah, again, do you guys have any questions? Hopefully it's to the point, right? There's not a lot of moving parts. Just some things we are observing. All the PD arrays. We do have this wick in here. If we can't even get back into that, I'm classifying that lower portion as a balanced price range. That's inside of the other one. From this high to that, the low down there. Like I said, our overall invalidation for this going higher is going to be down there. So yeah, we are inside the macro now, 645 or 545. Good morning, Fancy. Appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate all of y'all hopping on. Is there anything I missed? Yeah, today, you know, it could be hit or miss just overall because we are ahead of the news event. Nothing really too exciting in here. I mean, off this S&T, right, if we go down to, say, the 1 minute, this is a breaker here. High, low, higher high. We also have a high, low, higher high. So that's another breaker in there. I'm personally just wanting to make sure that we can initially get above this so we can invert that. And then again, hopefully we can get a pretty rapid movement. We've got a fair value gap in there. Kind of a stop run. It is a fair value gap in there too. That's a beautiful response from the upper portion of a fair value gap. And what fair value gap? This one right here. I think it's also a 1 hour too. Yeah. So we got, let me go see. So we've got an order block in there. So again, what we want to see take place is taking place. Nothing's telling us otherwise. So until that changes, we're going to keep the opinion on price going to the buy side. Yeah, there was a move right there outside of the macro. Now we're in the macro and look what's happening. Price is expanding more. It's more energetic going into this time. This is exactly why we only trade around macros. At least 5 minutes before, could be 5 minutes after if you can align your model within that. And then, of course, if it starts in a macro like this one here, right, it's beginning the displacement in the macro. If that happens, then you can find a continuation if you understand how to do that, which we teach here on this YouTube channel and in my private group. We got order block here, right? One here, one there. It's all being respected. We got this wick here. It's being respected too. And then we got another order block changing state of delivery. So if we go up a little bit, see if we can get a larger one. Again, that 15-minute fair value gap there is interesting. Yeah, I'm assuming that everything makes sense. You guys don't got no questions, so that's a good thing. If at any time you guys have a question or some thoughts that are constructive, you could definitely place it in the chat. So yeah, we got this change in state too. One there. One there. So yeah, we'll see, right? This down movement, up movement, down movement. It's still inside of a breaker. But again, we got DXY declining, so I'm more inclined to see if we can catch a potential buy at some point. It did offer a small one right there, right off this breaker here. But again, it's outside the time windows that I like to engage. So yeah, nothing's changed. All right, we're just going to keep seeing if it can get up there. And again, whatever your model is, you have to apply it to what I'm telling you. Right? I teach my models. I have my own models. I have 4. But I'm not here to put you in trades. Right? I mean, you could piece 2 and 2 together and do what you will with the information. But I'm not, I'm not trying to teach codependency. So, it is what it is. There's lots of people that will try to blow smoke up your ass and, make you feel excited, try to get into 500 trades every 5 minutes. But we like to be precise. So, yeah. So again, there's not really an issue if you did see something in here. Again, this was a breaker, like I pointed out. This high to that low, price getting above that. That little area as well is a breaker. You also have the YouTube model 2022 in here, run on stops, shift in market structure, fair value gap. Stop goes below the fair value gap low. So that was the 2022 model. Only thing that for me didn't line up was the fact that we're before the open. We're not in the macro, right? Maybe not so much the before the open because there's news that literally happened at 5:30 as a result of, that news. This is what transpired. But again, we're before NFP, so I'm extra strict with the rules. So we'll see what happens throughout this macro in here. We have started our rise. I'd be pretty inclined to take an entry up here because, again, you guys know I like the second stage distribution. And if we can get all the way up here, there's no reason that we wouldn't look to blow this out unless it's going to consolidate. So yeah, it's kind of my thought process. So yeah, this order block here, right? You see that this order block was respected from that other time frame. This one's respected. We have that large wick. We have an inverted fair value gap here. And now let's see if we can respect this as well. And if we get up above this high, this wick midpoint should be able to hold up. As long as order flow is going to continue to be bullish, this type of stuff should continue to happen, right? Many don't realize, like, what I just shared, just that piece alone is gold. How I'm looking at the PD arrays to identify order flow. Most people are like, how do I know if price is going to keep going in my direction? How do I know if price is bullish or bearish? Especially on these lower time frames. Well, it's good to use the higher time frame as well, right? I don't think there's any excuse not to get a overall feel for what's happening. But reading the intricate relationship that each PD array has to the other, merging that with time, like the macros and whatnot, seeing what's respected, what's inverted, and then just watching how it unfolds over and over and over again, eventually you get to a point where you understand the language that's being spoken to you, right, in price. Like down close candles should act as support in a bullish trend. Up wicks, 50% level, should be respected, right, so on and so forth. And as long as that keeps happening and the higher time frame agrees, it's pretty easy to know what the narrative is, right? It becomes a lot easier when you see it like this and study it like this, and you gain experience over time. It's that pattern recognition, you know what I mean? So yeah, it looks like it's continuing. So yeah, that was a decent move right there. Again, not one I took because it's outside of the rules. And I don't take things just because they look good. It has to line up with my rules. That's what makes traders different. That's what separates the, consistent long term versus I can make money, but then I lose it all every other week. So yeah, that order block, it's holding this breaker, right? This low up to the high, down to the low. It's not necessarily holding too nicely. DXY is kind of stalling out a little bit. So it may cause some issues. The analysis on gold and silver, trying to see if it can continue. Order block here, wick here, right? Notice all the things that I just told you about. That's stuff that I always talk about, but notice how all the stuff I just pointed your attention to from this 1 minute chart is applicable to the daily chart too. And you can see how it just makes sense. And so the question of, where's price headed? Am I going to buy or sell? You can use that information to kind of help yourself answer that for you, right? And that's independence. So yeah, this is also a pretty decent scenario because again, we got below the open price. So this was all, at least for the moment, seems like it was accumulation below some of the lows from London. This is London's low is here. This is pre-market London, right? This is the actual low that's in London. Came down directly below that, swept it, and now again, we're delivering a market maker buy model. So those of you in my private group, remember, if the market fails to deliver a market maker buy model, you want to think about the market maker model flexibility protocol I taught you guys the other day. But failing market maker buy models are useful. Failing market maker sell models are useful. So if that scenario that I taught the other day unfolds and this fails, then we just simply, go with our flexibility protocol and then try to see if, what I talked about here ends up being disrespected and then starts to do the same thing just to the opposing direction. Right? So, and it's simple as that. Just do that over and over and over. Watch price, understand this stuff, get that pattern recognition, and you'll be very surprised what happens in the next 6 months. Yeah, I mean, the overall narrative, the overall objective that I've called out, yet again, you guys see that we're correct yet again, at least for now, ahead of the open. Whether you felt comfortable with taking something like this, again, that's up to you. I laid it out. This whole thing's been laid out on a silver platter for you to look at and start to think, like, what should you do? And that's totally up to you what you will do. Again, I'm not here to put you in trades. I'm here to guide you through the storm so then you can take your own. And you can feel confident that it is based on your experience. I just kind of acted as a guiding light. It's the whole purpose of why I'm on social media, why I have these calls. And I'm glad that a lot of you guys get value from it. Because again, there's a lot of things happening in the trading industry. There's a lot of characters. But I think they are a little too hyped up. Trading should be boring as hell. It should be feeling like you're watching paint dry. And if it's not, you're going to be too excited. You're going to be too low. The highs are going to be too high. The lows are going to be too low. And you're going to be hit and miss. Professionals, they know that everything that happens, it's just part of the job. It's another day on the job. So if we grade this high to that low, if we are going to map this as a buy model, we got 25%. Beautiful. Set up the breaker. We got the 50%. You can see how that was sensitive. Couple that with this inversion fair value gap. Now we got 75%, ironically lining up with the second stage distribution. So again, if we can get up there, I'll look at this range as a sensitive range. And, it should be able to rip if our objective is, overall going to target the highs up here. And then we have to observe what it's going to behave like once it gets up here. We do not expect it to come all the way down here. If it does that, that's a problem. Right? If we close below this 50% level, that's a problem. And then all we would have to do is then look at this trendline liquidity, this SMT at the low. We'll just look at that as a possible low resistance liquidity run. We got relative equal lows there too. And all of this, if we do break this low, will have just been delivery to price in a premium price level to then try to target the sell side first. Given the fact that it's still before the open, that can't be something you put off the table. I'm more confident and more one-sided towards the buy side delivery because, again, what we see in these other assets supports that. If I was using the 30-minute, I would be really paying close attention to how price behaves here. If I was like a larger time frame trader, My attention would really be tight on this with the SMT. Balanced price range here being respected. Relative equal highs. Again, it seems pretty likely that they're going to take that out. And if we get up into here like it looks like we're going to, we're going to want to try to see if there's something we can trade in that direction. Okay, especially if all this stuff continues to hold. Now again, if this fails and closes below this, we then just adjust. But yeah, for now, this is what we're watching. Yeah, let me know in the chat if everything makes sense, you guys. We're about to hit the open. Everything has done pretty much exactly what we talked about, right? Literally. Already offered 20 to 30 points. It's all you're looking for as a default if you're part of this community. Anything else is extra. And you guys know that, you know, most times price runs over 100 handles because it's just the way we do analysis, the things we look at. We're put in the best possible situation for big moves to take place, but our goals are very managed. You know, while everyone's jumping off the table and, you know, spazzing out, having a party every 5 seconds, you know, we're steady Eddie. Steady Eddie generally gets to their target. Gambling Joe, who thinks everything's a party every 5 seconds, he has to keep doing resets. So you got to think of things from a business perspective too, right? Like if you're trading and you're investing in your trading by getting accounts or whatever, mentors and whatnot, how much are you spending versus how much like profitable capability do you have? You know, and if you're doing a bunch of gambling type of behavior, behaving as, you know, a party animal, eventually the bottom line is just going to shrink. And in order to get out of drawdown, because if you spend money on a funded account and you lose that account and never take a withdrawal, you do that hundreds of times, you're going into massive drawdown. You know, it doesn't mean that, you know, you should expect to pass things right away. You're going to have an investment. It's just the way it is. But you don't want to be a gambling crazy person. If you physically have not passed 5 to 10 accounts in a row, maybe it's a good idea to try to hold that money and just hop on calls like this, right? Learn from the things that are being shared because they absolutely work. We prove it live every week, every day in my private group. And so do many others. You know, there's a handful of others that are really, really good too. ICT proves it himself as well. So there's no reason to not study or not be motivated to study. Is the goal not motivation enough to not need a job and all these things? Is that not enough? Right? Like a lot of times, you know, we get motivated through pain as traders for whatever reason. I was one of those traders. I lost all my money before I decided, you know what? I need to change my perspective. You know, I need to start focusing on the process, not be so obsessed over, you know, making money right away. Because I was obsessed, still obsessed, but in a much more managed way. You know, and we're a whole lot better than we were when we first started. I mean, I never thought that I'd get to where I'm at. And I'm still early. You know, still early. If you have less than 10 years experience, it's still early for you. And you're never going to get to a level until you prove profitability to yourself. You'll never be at a level where learning should stop. Charlie Munger, the partner with Warren Buffett, said, the day you stop learning is the day your career essentially will start to fade, right? Because once you stop learning, you're going to get to a point where you're going to stop learning technicals because you already know what you're talking about. Because you already got every element secured. Like I am at that level. I don't need to learn anything else. The main thing that I learned from is myself psychologically. I do constant study on the psychological elements, as I encourage my students to do. I encourage all of you to do. You know, maybe it's your first time here. But a lot of times the technicals are what people focus on. They don't focus so much on the other things. And the other things, even if you arrive with a technical understanding, the more you neglect the psychological element of this, the more painful it's going to be. Because then you're going to sit there asking yourself, why do I keep doing this to myself? Well, if you would sit back and analyze you know, tell yourself the hard truths. Are you impulsive? Are you lacking discipline? Are you like letting your ambition get in front of the reality of trading? Because this is hard stuff. It gets easier, especially if you have a community like this where I'm literally every week breaking things down in a simplistic manner, you know, keeping intact everything ICT is taught, adding some of my own wisdom from being a full-time trader for the last 3.5 years. Well, going on, it's almost 4 years now. I've been trading for almost 7 years. I mean, it's a long process, and it was hard. The first 2 years were brutal, as it is with everybody. You know, but you get to a point, some don't, but most of the time you get to a point where you just start to get sick and tired of letting yourself down. Because that's what it is, right? If you know that there's things that you have to do, there's rules that you need to follow, and you literally keep breaking the promises. Like, I'm not going to overtrade, for example. And then the next 24 hours, you go in and take 10 trades when you should have taken 2, like you said you should have. You do that enough times, you're completely destroying your ability to trust yourself. And it's no wonder that when you get into a trade, you don't trust it. It's no wonder you second guess yourself, because the person that you are is at war with you, because you cannot submit to the fact that you have to change. You can't be the same person that you are when you first start trading, and then just all of a sudden when you become profitable or even get to profitability, you can sustain it. You're going to be a totally different person mentally. Hopefully by that time you have good habits. You know, you've changed things that you can identify as a problem. You know, it's different for everybody, obviously, and only you can answer that type of question. Like, what are those things? But you have to identify them. You know, but many times we get caught up in all the stuff we're trying to learn to trade, that these things get neglected, and you know, it's unfortunate. But I'm telling you right now, if you feel that you know where price is going to go, you can call it more often than not. You know, you have essentially anything that you would need. Obviously, you have to know what that is, which I hope you guys understand here. But if you feel you've gotten there technically and you just are failing, blowing accounts, you could pass, but you fail, you know, maybe start to take a look at things outside of what you've been looking at. You know, I'm always here to help. Hit me up in DMs. I'm always here to help. You know, I message everybody. And I've helped over 200 students achieve clarity. You know, it just keeps growing. So I know what I'm talking about. Okay. And my students are now knowing what they're talking about. It's fascinating to see. And of course, ICT deserves a credit. You know, if it wasn't for him and some of my other mentors, I have 2 other mentors that are ICT traders, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't know what to help you guys with, let alone help myself. You know. So yeah, there's some things to consider. So again, notice how I haven't really been paying attention too much to the chart. Everything's already been outlined. We've already talked about what we want to see. And unless something changes, nothing changes. So we're going to keep going, try to see if we could target the buy side up here. DXY is dropping. I am very, very curious to see what this is going to do. I don't think I need that. Okay, you notice how this high to that low, price got above it. What did it do? You take this high to that low, measure the 50%. We never returned into it. So what happened? Price respected that range and it created another bullish order block. So in the wick here, 50% was respected by the bodies of the candles. So what's happening? Price is continuing. We inverted this fair value gap. Price is continuing. Down close candles are acting as support. Right? See how the bond's going higher? That is a beautiful sign that we are in a healthy, trustworthy buy-side scenario at the moment. I mean, especially with things like China dumping treasuries at a rapid rate. They're at the lowest treasury holding that they've ever been now. It's like it's financial warfare. And it's bad for the dollar. And they've announced it. I mean, the dollar's been under attack and personally manipulated by the US to make it so trade is cheaper for exporters. So that's why we've been, just continuing to go higher. So yeah, we're 15 minutes out from the open. And again, the buy side delivery has just continued and it's nice. It's nice to see. Rookie GMI, appreciate you subscribing, brother. Shout out to you. Glad you're getting value. For some reason, I can't see oh, yeah, some of the comments lagged. What was the rule change with Top Step? It's not necessarily a rule change. I mean, they've always had their trailing drawdown, but they're starting to deny people their withdrawals. The company owner is looking like he's trying to hop ship. They're increasing the prices. There's a hedging problem. If you have multiple accounts, they're starting to cancel your account if you trade multiple accounts and deny withdrawals, claiming you're breaking a hedging rule. And this has happened. I mean, I've seen hundreds of examples just in the last couple of days of people coming out and saying or showing the email that they're mass sending out to people. So in Top Step's owner, it seems like he's trying to sell the company. It seems like he's trying to hop ship while they're making all these adjustments, while there's a ton of outages happening. They are under fire right now pretty aggressively, and it's not looking good. So that's kind of what I was mentioning to you guys in the private group earlier. So again, it's probably best to think about a hedge, right? Find another one. 930s. New week opening gap. 930. We're not at 930 yet. There's a new week opening gap in here. I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. Going short / long. That's buy and sell. You're going to hedge, go both directions. I wouldn't encourage you to do that. But yeah. Again, we do see that all three indices are going higher. The DXY is dropping. So until that changes, my objective is not going to change. We got this up here. This could end up being a low resistance liquidity run for the S&P. Because again, if there's a run above the high, then price declines and we return, like say it took the high up here first, dropped, and then looked to go up, that makes it high resistance. If it's a lower high like this, generally that's potentially low resistance, especially if you're trading within the narrative. If it was bullish, right, which we're going to remain until at least if price gets below this, right? If it gets below that, then we can start to consider some of this. But again, we got this high to that low acting as a balanced price range. Clearly, we're leaving open fair value gaps. We have up movement here, displacement, up movement here, displacement that leaves behind balanced price ranges. We got sell side, buy side delivery. And you could see how the characteristics being shown there are being respected, right? By this not going any deeper and respecting this fair value gap. That's the reason that this level here is left available, why it didn't fill in that fair value gap, because there's sell side delivery and then displacement buy side delivery overtaking it, resulting in the high being swept, right? And then we return back. You notice how it intentionally left that open. It's because it's a balanced price range already. You notice how it didn't go deeply into a discount. Many people would say, okay, well, this high to that low, we want to go to 50% because that's a discount, right? Well, there's a balanced price range. I mean, you can look at this high and the low breaking up above that as a bullish breaker too. These up candles here, drag that over. Breakers are balanced price ranges. So all of that perspective supports, especially with DXY dropping and us seeing that this is continuing to rise with little to no resistance, all of that supports us continuing to go higher. And we need a lot for us to go lower, right? If it displaces through this, for example, or if we fail to take this high and then we break down below this, because then we'll have a double change in state of delivery. So that's kind of my thinking in terms of when I would switch, right, or potentially consider a short. But for now, it's screaming to us that it wants to go higher. And we have very obvious targets up here. Plus DXY is literally melting off the face of the earth. And that is a good bullish indication. So yeah, it's kind of my thorough opinion as far as why I'm believing that we're going to go higher. Again, if you have some other opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to encourage you to not think independently. Just, consider some of the things I laid out. And if you see that there's something useful in that explanation, I encourage you to study even further. And again, the more that you guys hop on, the more access you have to me doing this. And if you guys ever decided to join my private group, those of you that may not be in that group, we do this exact thing every single day. And I think I got some private group students in the chat who can attest to what we do there is pretty incredible, but it's not for everyone, right? Like it's kind of like a hobbyist trader. It's a very serious, exclusive community. But if that fits your description, I encourage you to check it out, or we can have a conversation about it, see if you're a good fit and whatnot. So yeah, just for those that may be interested, there is a QR code at the top of the screen or the link in the description. So yeah. So again, this should be very quick. We shouldn't get another deep retracement. I know I can't I can't read your name. The individual that talked about the new week opening gap going short. If you're cool with it, if you can mention your name so I can address you properly, I'd really appreciate that. If you're comfortable, of course. If not, I understand. Good morning, Joan, one of my private students. Joan, have you been here since we did this analysis and you saw this run yet again? Do what we said it was going to do? Yeah, welcome to everyone. Okay. Yeah, we were calling for this to go higher here. This is same old, Nothing changes day to day. Oh, nice. You caught the market maker model? Yeah, we talked about that too. We're now in the second stage distribution, so we should see a pretty speedy run. 30 points. Yep. Hey, that's the recipe right there, bro. 20 to 30 points. All of you in my private group, you guys know the vibes. Obviously, it offered a decent amount more, right? Just because we aim for 30 doesn't mean that the whole move is going to go only 30 points. Generally, it goes hundreds of handles, which my private students can attest to. Like every week, there's over 100-point moves being framed out. I don't necessarily hold for the entire moves, but probably should start. Because man, oh man, the multiplier on those moves, I mean, it'd be pretty shocking. I'm sure you guys would agree. You guys have seen me do this all the time. We do a lot on this YouTube channel too. Every call for the last, like, I want to say 8 months, minus maybe like 2 that were on like NFP weeks that didn't really do much. We've pretty much called moves that have went ridiculous amounts. I mean, it's insane. Consistently using the same process over and over, which, you know, kind of went through that a little bit today, at least for the current context. Yeah, look at the dollar. We talked about this potentially giving a rejection. The only way I would have been bullish overall and not really consider shorts for the dollar, again, is if we would have taken out the breaker high up here. You guys remember I talked about that. You see that the currencies are now wicking this down candle. The indices are still moving higher. It's just rapidly moving. Let's see, so there's S&T. Let's go check that out. So yeah, we do got bullish S&T. We've talked about that earlier down here at the lows. We don't necessarily have, well, yeah, we have it at the highs too up here. I believe we mentioned that earlier. Yeah, right there. But because we have, if you have 2 S&Ts, one at the highs, one at the lows, you have to justify which one is true using the DXY. That's your validation tool, right? It's the easiest way to validate which one's going to work out or not. And of course, understanding the higher time frame, what's taking place. Yeah, you can see that S&T there. Again, if we take this high to the low, we got 50%. It needs to stay above that 50%. And as long as it does, we're going to keep trying to look for this to go chasing the buy side. Maybe not chasing, right? Price is going to chase it. We ain't chasing nothing. Okay. So yeah, we're going into the open here. So beautiful move so far. So we do got this wick in here. I think that's going to be a worthwhile thing to map out. This is a bullish order block. Order block's being respected. Look at the delivery. Respected, respected, respected. See the closing portion? It wicked through it. Yeah, that's totally fine. But it created SMT, and we closed above the 50%. We also closed above this. So it's now inverted that daily wick 50% level, and we're just continuing to rise. We need to see how this wick is going to be treated. If this rejects and breaks this down candle, then that puts this in jeopardy. But as long as this continues, I mean, look, we got all the way up to here, right? Drag that over. You look at how the bodies were closing. I mean, we've closed well above this wick here too. You look at the 50% of that. We drag that over. You see how the candles in there were respecting it, the structure itself, and then follow that with the down close candles being respected. So again, I am still bullish. I think we should get up to this level pretty quickly as a result of the 630. It would make sense. Maybe a wick's lower to try to take some of this early buying out. It is the open after all. A lot of times that happens. So yeah, let's see what happens. We shall see what happens. So this here, it's the wick from that 1 hour chart. So if it rejects that, we are still inside the breaker here, this candle, right? Low, high, lower, low. So if it rejects that, you know, it may be pretty sensitive. And then if we take out this down candle, if we close below that, that's enough for me to think, okay, well, now we're going to look to target the wick here possibly. And then how it would treat that if it blew down through to that level, that would help us determine in real time what we should do or shouldn't do. But yeah, I'm assuming and staying on the side of price going through to this buy side because the equal highs up here is pretty nice. It has been a pretty fast pre-market open. So you can imagine people are trying to buy right now. So we don't want to be like everyone and try to do something right at the open. Let's let that manipulation or whatever is going to take place and observe that first 30 minutes, the opening range, and then see what liquidity is available, what levels have remained intact, what things have been violated, and then we can go from there. But again, initially, the buys that we called out ahead of time, once we got up into this, clearly that worked out. Why once we get above this? Because this is after, this is going into the macro. And if you're following the rules, we only take trades near the macro, unless it starts in a macro, right? If it starts in a macro, then we can try to take a trade potentially a little bit later if it still makes sense, because we already started the move in the macro. It already used it to start the move. Yeah, look at that small regular trading hours gap. That could be an issue too. A lot of times tiny regular trading hours gaps can lead to choppier conditions. So it's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't always, obviously, but yeah, see what I meant, right? When it opens, it could wick out early buyers. Seems like that's what happened. We did get above that too. Let's go see the highs. So yeah, we got all the other two indices rallying. If the Nasdaq or if the S&P continues this, we should be able to continue higher with the Nasdaq here. We got this wick. If we were to get above that wick, I would use that as a balanced price range, and that would send me through to the buy side. So yeah, we're attempting down here. Look at this wick. Let's watch how this next candle treats that. If this 50% of this wick gets if this 50% here gets respected and we end up above this, again, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to look at. Okay, now punching up a little bit. Let's go over here, keep an eye on the DXY. So yeah, watch this level in here. Watch that level in there. Dollar is pulling back a little bit, so it's a little chaotic. I'm not going to take a trade right at the open. It's just not happening. But study this. Let's see how this behaves. So we got that wick, stop run. Remember, this wick is important. And if it holds it and then we get above, that's a good sign. That's order flow is still remaining. Obviously, they're punishing them right now, the early buyers. That's why if you take a trade pre-market open, you only aim for 20 to 30, because you could be in profit, 50 points, 100 points, but then the open comes and all of that can be wiped out just for it to turn and continue going in the direction you anticipated. So yeah, we got this fair value gap. Very significant fair value gap here. It's from the 15-minute. If it breaks through that, that's a problem. Those of you that know the Razor model that I teach, the flagship of this community in my private group, watch this candle here. We have a lot of elements unfolding. Yeah, 50% from this high to that low in that fair value gap. Again, this is really important. It needs to hold for us to continue to trust buy side. If it breaks, my intention would then switch and look to target these. So far, though, this is reasonable to continue. We just have to find our model now. And again, from that larger time frame, right? Keep in mind what I just mentioned. Those of you in the private group that know the Razor model. So we've got this wick here. The next candle that forms, if we can keep this wick intact, if it opens up and trades into that wick, we would want to see the 50% of that respected. It's a mess right now, right? We're in a huge range. My intention is still for us to try to get up into this, unless it breaks this fair value gap. In that case, we got to watch and see if it's an inversion. If it proves it is, then you just find your model targeting the sell side here. I'm favoring, though, the buy side. Look at dollar. Look at the dollar. It's dropping aggressively. It's not necessarily safe to take a short in an asset like the indices if the dollar is declining. Because at any moment they could flip the switch and then it gets back in line with market symmetry. We got the gold and silver charts moving higher. Still got the indices moving higher. The S&P is moving higher. That makes this seem like the liar. The other two are going higher. The Nasdaq, again, I believe is a liar. I think it's going to continue. It's just really, really testing people, messing them up right now. If we can shift market structure here, that'd be pretty great because we got stop run. We got a PD array that's holding price. Seems that the Nasdaq is the liar because the other two are moving pretty aggressively. The S&P drags other assets with it, right? So if the S&P rallies and the Nasdaq is dropping, right, at some point, the Nasdaq's going to get in line with the S&P. It's just the way it is. It's the more weighty indice. So it throws its weight around a little bit more. Nasdaq is in second place, has 100 stocks versus 500 in the S&P. The Dow is, the smallest. It has 30 stocks. That's why it's more volatile than both of them. Because anything that happens to one of those companies can do dramatic things to the Dow, not have as much of an impact in the Nasdaq and the S&P because there's just so much weighted against that one asset or two assets. So yeah, we do now have, I believe, SMT at the highs here. So the Dow did take out the high, so we got to watch this. Remember, keep your eyes on that 15-minute fair value gap. The hell is my SMT marker? There. It's a shit show, you guys. It's a mess. So look at this. You want to be a part of that? You're getting wicked out. Whether you buy or sell, you're going to get wicked out. So keeping my attention here. If we break through this, we got to see how it treats it when it trades back into it. And then if we push away from it, I'm really confident that it'll take the lows out here. It's very convincing right there. Okay. So now our next opinion, or next thing to look at is the 50% of this here. So let's see what it wants to do here. We would just like it to return back. It doesn't have to. If it doesn't return back, it's even better for the shorts. But it could reach into it. If this is going to remain bearish, this low to that high and the high of this fair value gap, preferably the 50%, will not get traded through too aggressively. A wick is fine, but we have to immediately push away. Right? You could see that it's, just ripping though. It's not even going to offer it. So even if we were going to short, it didn't offer the short, at least up to this point, which fully confirms in terms of order flow that it wanted to reach down to the sell side delivery. This response is also happening again from that bearish breaker on the higher time frame. So we got to keep that in mind, because if it just starts to rip and we get deeper, the buy side may have to be put to the side overall for the narrative, and we may have to just continue to seek shorts as we were through this drop. You guys see that we called this this drop, the whole entire thing, until it turned. So yeah, we're about to hit the place where the SMT was at. So it should be low resistance if it is going to purge that. It looks like we're already starting that behavior. Again, this was my trigger to think, okay, well, we're not ready to buy yet. It's going to probably look to short now. And how we treat the lows down here, once we do breach them, that's going to be significant in terms of whether it could be continued trustworthy to the sell side, and taking buys and putting them to the side for a while. So yeah, we're also again getting that response from this daily wick. This has turned to a market maker sell model, so this should be fast also on the basis of that. Right? If it's going to be selling off, it looks like it is. It looks like a sell model now. The buy model failed, so sell model has now been put underway. Breaking through this again was part of the confirmation that we're now going to look to see if we can blow the lows out here. Still not in a macro. Still nothing for me to do. I'm waiting for the macro, especially because of all this. Let the gamblers gamble and get gambled with. Okay. Watch this fair value gap. I can say that if we do get back above this fair value gap, it's going to be a strong trigger. The price may be back in line with the bullishness. We're watching how this reacts here. It did blow past this a little bit. Well, entirely. We do have a fair value gap in there. It shouldn't have to come through to the middle, right, of this. It should leave that open if it's going to be bearish. Right? I want to see how, or I want to see if price can take this low out. It's trading into this. So let's see. It's a pretty nice reaction here. It's not sliding through it aggressively. DXY is at the bottom of, I believe that's a bearish breaker. So again, order block here. See this up wick, 50% of that's being respected in there. And then we change the state of delivery. And we got below the 15-minute here. So again, unless it gets back above, it's all short positions. Seems like the fast movement yesterday is now being punished, right? Like I said, if it's a fast start to a week, the risk of a retracement happening, it's pretty solid. You know, it doesn't mean it upsets the whole entire narrative. You got to see what it reacts with once it does give this type of liquidation retracement, basically targeting yesterday's traders. So yeah, now we're taking out that low. Like I said, it's all short positions once we got below this. That move in itself right here, if that's part of your model, something you can participate in. I'm personally following my very strict NFP protocol rules, which is I don't take a trade until the macro comes in, at least at a minimum 6:45, which is in 4 minutes. And then I'll see what we can look to engage around that time. It's really not a new day opening gap, huh? It's really nothing there. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Let's move up a little bit. So now we got this high, low, failure swing. So now that we're below this, if it's going to be continuing to be bearish, we do not want to see price get beyond this candle here because now it should be a mitigation block. It should be a balanced price range. And again, my full line in the sand for bullishness to completely be over is if we were to break through this low here, or this lower portion here, because then that'll upset this high to that low being a balanced price range. It'll be giving up the balanced price range, and then it'll look to try to target even deeper, being the previous day's low here. We move very slow when we get off of our narrative, right? A narrative is like a big ship. The higher time frame is like a big ship. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort, right, for it to change. Not like the lower time frame where it could go either direction at any moment. You know, the higher time frame takes time. That's why we wait. That's why I waited till the 15-minute fair value gap was violated before I decided that, okay, well, maybe it's going to short. Right? If it would have respected it and displaced again, we got these equal highs up here. We are still at the beginning of the day, right? The 6:45 now. It's almost a macro. And now we've purged liquidity. We left even more buy-side liquidity up here. We failed to do a buy model. And now it's purged out overnight lows. So now that's potential counterparty liquidity for buys if they were to get back above this area here, right? And DXY was to continue to drop. If that takes place, that sequence of events takes place, we could then get back in line with bullishness. Otherwise, they're punishing punishing buy positions right now. So again, this here is the potential mitigation block. If it is going to continue to go lower, it's going to have to respect this. It's not going to even attempt to get beyond this high. This high should act as an intermediate term high. Right? Assuming that they were going to trust down movements, especially if they react from here. We have about 30 seconds till we get into the macro, the first one. We got this high here. Similar to the perspective we had up here, right, with this possibly being a second stage distribution. If we get this high to get taken out, that may end up becoming the early stages, depending on how it blows it out. If it displaces, that becomes a breaker, but it'll be the early stage of this high to that low becoming a buy model. We're in consolidation. So we go back and forth between buy and sell models. This is why ICT classifies this as a universal model, because it can just bounce back and forth, giving you the market maker model ideas, right? The frameworks over and over and over, going from one to the next, one to the next, one to the next, right? In this case, it delivered a failed buy model, broke past 50% and turned into a sell model. Second stage distribution. I pointed that out. I said that there's no buys yet. Even right now, there's no buys yet, right? It's all short positions. Now we're in the macro. Dollar's having a hard time continuing to go lower, right? We are responding to this. Huge crack in correlation, very untrustworthy. See, I mean, given all of this, we do have the SMT up there, but yeah, I think I'm going to wait just a little more. I'm okay with giving up the best of the best opportunity to get something that is a little more pronounced. Trying to invert another 15-minute fair value gap. Yeah, you're talking about this one right here, one that we pointed out earlier. So remember, this high to that low, failure swing here. Now that we got below it, this candle is a line in the sand. It cannot break it beyond that. If it does, it may just continue to consolidate. And if we get above this fair value gap, I believe that we'll blow these highs out. Otherwise, right, with what we have so far, it's still continuing to try to push lower. There's nothing I want to engage in here. I'm trying to see what's going to transpire with this crack in correlation. Dollar is still, it's kind of wicking out at the low of this fair value gap. It's a 1 hour. Is it a 1 hour? 2 hour? 4 hour? It's a 4 hour. So yeah, we'll see how that wants to be treated. We got that breaker. I could clean some of this up. Still do got that order block in there. Yeah, see, nothing has told us bullishness at the moment. It's just continuing to slam short positions. So yeah, again, as long as we stay below this, it's all short. Like I said, as long as it stays below this. All of this turned into shorts once it broke down below this level here. Yeah, we got to watch and see how this is going to behave below these lows. Okay, gold has now turned a little bit. Still got the indices just raging higher, the Dow specifically. Very, very untrustworthy in terms of symmetrical market behavior. It's lacking symmetry. That means that something is happening on the back end. There's big plays taking place in the price delivery that we're dealing with right now. Something's happening that we're not privy to. That's why there's a crack in correlation. But again, nothing is telling us buys yet until it was to displace again. It's all short positions. So you'll do what you will with that information. Yeah, now we're going into the 650 moment. We are returning back down into daily wick. Wait a minute. So what is that? The 16 hour. So yeah, we're in that wick right there. So that blue line right there, that's a 16-hour wick. It's an opposing PD array, so price may hit it, retrace a little bit. But again, nothing is telling us buys yet, unless it displaces aggressively back beyond this level. It's all pushing to the downside for now. We're in a macro. So again, the opening up of price happens many times, almost every time, in the last 10 minutes and first 10 minutes of every hour. You can add 5 minutes to that and make it the last 15 and first 15 of every hour. And sometimes that's a little bit more accurate. I use that by default. So we got this high, low, higher high. So if we close above the upper portion of this red box in here, which is a mitigation block, lower candle, we want to watch and see, is that going to be respected? And if that leads us to getting above here, we are set to target the buy side. And like I said, being cautious in this, but favoring shorts up until it does something like this. Obviously, that was a true statement. We're not entirely done with the fact that this price is still bullish until we get down to this lower level down here that I mentioned earlier. And you can see why. You can see that that observation was accurate. This high to that low, we should not breach the 50% if it's going to now turn around. So this is going to be a very telling piece of information here. This right here is a potential bullish breaker. We got the other assets rallying aggressively. See if we can't get price to hold this level. Mike pointed out that other 15-minute fair value gap right there. Still respecting it. Look at the bodies of the candles. Is that telling you that it's blowing through it? It's not telling me that. It's telling me that there's wicks in there, and it's got some life holding on to that level. So we'll see. We shall see what happens. So now you're watching the wicks in here. We're watching this high to that low. 50% should not be traded through. If it does trade through that, then it tells you that buys are that this was a fake out buy. But we see that the other assets are moving pretty rapidly. The S&P is lagging, so it feels like it's giving this a little bit of a hard time. The Dow is just absolutely ripping people's face off to the buy side. Got the DXY turning a little bit. See if that can continue. I want to see this fair value gap here act as a breakaway gap. And now we're back to that 15-minute fair value gap. We want to see it break through that aggressively. We don't want to see too much of a hardship being dealt with in that level. The faster it breaks through that, the more likely it is that it's going to rally aggressively. Because now this whole lower level down here, if it's bullish, this is all being turned into a balanced price range. As price continues to print back and forth all the way up, it's leaving behind the balanced price range. And then once it breaks the high, it's a completed market maker buy model, but also a full balanced price range. That's how you watch price as it moves. And that right there was enough for me. Hit my daily goal. Took the breaker, as I told you. And just so those of you that do watch me, that do like to see evidence, here it is. Right at the breaker here that I mentioned, the little, you probably can't see it too much, but it's right there. 25,315 to 25,357, 45 points. Easy peasy, $250 to $500 gain. It's all I aim for every single day. Generally, it's easily achieved. You know, and look, like I said before, like I always say, just because it runs 30 points or 40, in this case, 45 points, just because it runs to that and that's where I get off, doesn't mean that that's where I believe it's going to stop. I have goals that I hit to pay bills. Okay, I'm not looking to be the biggest trader, although I could, right? A goal of mine is to, you know, kind of make some small, you know, gradual adjustments. But generally the things that we call out rip people's face off, hundreds of handles. And I have many private students that, or I think I have 3 or 4 private students that are in my private group that can attest to this. Literally, a lot of our trades go over 100 points. I just have very strict rules. Doesn't mean that you have to have such a strict approach. All I know is that this perspective is what made me profitable. I was able to achieve profitability, and I'm comfortable with sizing up my 20 to 30 points, or like you see, a little bit more at times, versus trying to get larger moves, even though I call them out. The biggest move I've ever called was 1,300 handles. And it was last year with the tariff conversation, when price just fell off the map and everybody thought that the whole world was going to end and blah, blah, blah. I caught 250 points on that one, right? Which I called it out live, right? I talked about the whole price delivery on YouTube and in my private group. But they obviously got more of the details because they're with me every day. What I've done today is what I do every day in my private group. You know, we do, you know, a lot of different things, answer a lot of questions. Community is like a family. So again, if that's something that you think can benefit you, if you like this type of stuff, right? If you are impressed with what you saw today and what you see every week here on YouTube, and you feel that you're in need of that more handheld approach, it's definitely worth considering joining my private group. It has to be a private group with some type of barrier to entry. Otherwise, there'd be anybody and everybody that joins, and it would make the experience for my private group students shitty. You know, some of my older private group students are the reason it is the way that it is. Because they're like, dude, I'm sick of seeing these people that are signal junkies, these people that don't care about what you're saying. They just want you to tell them when to buy and sell. It's distracting, and I don't like it. So you have to figure something out, because, you know, I don't want to be in a community where it's just the same as everyone else. And I'm like, oh, you got a good point. So what should I do? And then they're the reason that this community has turned into what it is. And I couldn't be more thankful that you guys, you know, care about the community that we're building together enough to give me that type of feedback, you know? So thank you guys. Right. And again, I hope you guys have learned some stuff so far. What a move. If you notice this low here, right, that delivery with the S&P giving that failure swing. That's kind of interesting because yesterday I could have swore that we looked at a very similar phenomenon with this low where the S&P did the same thing. Seems like that's kind of repetitive, don't you think? So yeah, this is how you want to use SMT, right? There was SMT here, right? That's why I was looking at it, but look, it turned into this. And the Nasdaq is the one that was the most exaggerated, which is generally the case, everyone. It's generally the case all the time, especially the last, say, year and a half. I mean, I complain about it all the time. I'm not going to still complain about it because clearly it's just what it is. But I was complaining with my private group about this because every single time there's a Kraken correlation, the freaking Nasdaq is the one that had the Kraken correlation. And all the other two would move, but the Nasdaq would be this slow mover and then finally would move. But by that time, we're either taken out or just didn't take the trade, right? Or I'm sitting in it and it's just taking forever, right? But yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys have enjoyed your time here so far. Tell me if you think that what we've talked about today, seeing it unfold exactly how we identify, especially if you're new. Have you guys got value from today? If you did get value, let me know in the chat what was the most valuable. And if you guys could please do me a favor, if you do enjoy this type of content, if you enjoy seeing us come out here and crush the market every single time we're live, and you've been learning a lot, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this link with anyone that you think can be impacted by the things we do here. I always say this channel is meant to make you independent, okay? Although I don't explicitly call signals, I mean, intelligent people can kind of figure it out, right? Like what I'm doing. I mean, I bring you all the way to the water and then you have to drink, which means like you have to apply your model. You have to have conviction behind what it is that I'm talking about, not just conviction in me, right? So yeah. So thank you in advance for those of you that go ahead and do that. Because again, this channel again is specifically here to just help people out. Okay, I needed this when I first started. I needed someone to prove that they can do it. Not only so I could try to believe in what it is that I'm learning, but I also, it's more relatable versus only learning from someone that has 30 years experience. Yeah, ICT does a good job of bringing himself back to the early stages, but I mean, there's nothing like having someone that you can shadow side by side, especially every day, who's accessible, which I honestly am the most accessible person that knows what to do, right? And I prove it. A lot of people put time limits on things. They don't let you speak in Zoom calls. I let my students speak. Anyone could unmute at any time, could ask questions at any time. I'm always accessible. So, that's an added perk too. And again, I prove it just like I did today. This ain't new. I literally called 4 trades yesterday in itself. Captured hundreds of handles as a possibility. I did exactly what I did today, though. I caught my 20 to 30 points. I think it was 36 exactly. And, we went on about our day. I think I can actually go back and see what happened yesterday. I think. What was the date yesterday? It was the 9th. That's shitty. Why doesn't it let me see my prior entries? That's BS. Do I have like a setting that's wrong? I'll have to figure it out later. I don't like that. I want to be able to pull up my previous entries. Whatever. But yeah, again, hopefully you guys got value. Not many people do what we do here. It may not be a party. It is a party because we're learning how to trade, right? You guys are learning from someone that has proved it, that they know what to do and they can actually help you in a detailed manner, you know? And many times to get access to that, if the person's being honest, you're either priced out because people are charging $10,000 to have access to them, like many are, which I could easily do. Because I mean, again, it's a very valuable skill set. But that's not the point. I make enough money trading. I don't need anything else. I just don't want to deal with a bunch of stupid ass idiots when I'm pouring in hours and hours and hours of time. I just refuse to do it. I did it for a year and I got really, really irritated and it was going to bother me and I didn't want to deal with it. So the way that my students have helped me structure this, it's the most accessible with some of the most impactful things you could ever learn by a proven source. You know, I mean, literally, I come out every day in my private group and every week here on YouTube, and I tell you what I think is going to happen. And if I'm wrong, it's not going to do anything that I'm saying it's going to do. I'm not going to be able to find an opportunity. I'm not going to be able to point at things and then it works out. I'm not going to be able to explain stuff that in price makes sense when you understand some of the different elements. Right? I said this high to that low, for example. If this is going to be respected, this gap should be left open and we should not trade to the 50%. And we should invert this box here because that's a mitigation block on the upper time frame. And if it trades through that, every PD array has an inverse nature to it. So if that's true, if that statement is a fact, this exact thing that happened should take place. Did it? Yeah. Once it gets above this, how it trades through it will determine if we are going to accelerate through the high. Once it gets above that in itself, again, all of this is a BPR. It then turns this again into another inversion, comes right down into it, leaves this open as a breakaway gap. Because why? It's a balanced price range. Fair value gap, fair value gap. This was definitely an A+ setup if I could classify setups. That was an A+ setup. Even if you took it up here, the market maker buy model second stage distributions unfolding. You know, those of you that have been with me for a while probably saw this. If you didn't take this, you definitely saw this, right? And if it fits your model, it's all balanced price range. What's the purpose in it trying to get back down there? Unless you're wrong, which I figured that we're not wrong. You know, I told you guys when I would feel like sell side would stop or buy side would stop. This level down here, I called that well before any of this even unfolded. We didn't even attempt to get down there. Why? Because this is still a balanced price range. So what happened? Everything that we said could take place. It could look to take the lows out. Preferably, I didn't want to see it do that, but there was SMT that was present, but then it formed in another way with the other assets, right? So the same principle that I was going to use to continue to see this go higher, right? Or see this not even drop, right? But it did, right? The same principle that I would use, that I was going to use, even if this didn't drop down below here, using the SMT as a catalyst, that unfolded still. It just, you know, kind of maneuvered and set up in a little bit different manner visually. Technically, it's all the same, right? It did the same crap, you know. We had SMT here at these lows too, right in this low in itself, let alone the larger view, because the S&P failed. All right. Yeah, this here too became a breaker, high, low, higher high. So that right there is another reason why this up here made sense. Okay, because it was a breaker. High, low, higher high. There's a little breaker in there. high, low, higher high, inverted, higher time frame PD array. Execute. Once it gets above this, that's another possible chance because it's an inversion. One that we've pointed out since what, 4 a.m.? Or since it was 4 a.m., we've had it there. Went to it, through it, back through it again, never came back because it's a balanced price range. I told you guys, if this continues to go higher, if this is going to be respected and that SMT is going to launch price and we're going to continue, as price goes up, it's a market maker buy model too. So if that's true, every time we keep pushing higher, the retracement should be shallow. It should continue and not dig too deeply because this whole left side is a balanced price range as we print the buy side delivery in a market maker buy model. Okay. Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. I know you guys in my private group. I mean, this is just same old, same old. But anyone that may be new, maybe it's your first time here seeing us do this. Okay, Tony said, yeah. Oh, yeah, Tony, this is probably a review to you too. It's good to see you with us, Tony. Tony started with me on YouTube, what, about a year ago? Mike Koza in the chat. He started with me on YouTube. Now he's part of the private group. Absolutely crushing it, by the way. Did I miss any? Nico said, personally avoided the industries today. It was a form of bias. George said, yes. Beautiful. Love to hear it. I was able to catch a great move during Asian session. Okay, good. Yeah. That's the right mindset, Tony. God, what a freaking move that was. I should have held it. Y'all in my private group. Y'all know. Little salty on this one. I could have just moved it up below this instead of taking it all off, but it's NFP protocol. It's just the way it is. But yeah, there's really nothing to be upset about aside from, well, nothing to be upset about in general. Improvements from this because I had a lot of conviction that once we got up here, it was going to go up there. I mean, I talked about this exact thing unfolding just like this. I said that this could simply be accumulation below these lows. If you rewind back when this was taking place, like 30 minutes ago or something like that? 10, 15 minutes ago, you guys heard me say this could end up being accumulation if we displace and we end up getting above this. But once it got up above this candle here, right, that was enough for me to engage. You could have added positions. In this scenario, you can add positions to something like this. Once it breaks through it, comes back into it, you can add position to there, to that. And then this here, because it created a bullish breaker there, you could have added one more there and then taken profit at the highs up there. That's how I would go about pyramiding. If it wasn't NFP week, that's exactly what I would have done. But rules are rules. Beautiful people, rules are rules. And you guys realize that when we went into this, in the face of this decline, did you hear how I was telling you I'm not concerned about it? I'm going to wait till the macro. What happened when the macro came? 645. It offered my opportunity perfectly in line with what I use, with our process, the things that we do every day. And it delivers like gangbusters. To steal a term from ICT. Those of you that use the Razor model, the flagship pattern or flagship model for entry and framework that I teach, you see the different components in here. I'll let you go ahead and dig inside of that. You can see multiple models. We have the YouTube 2022 model happening, right? Stop run, shift, fair value gap. You have a high, low, higher high, breaker. You have the Razor model. You have a wick here for a wick model, right? The wick Then we got the respect and then change the state of delivery. Right? So that model's there too. We have 4. Ow, holy crap. Oh, God. That didn't feel good. So we got, oh my God, 4, use the other hand, 4 models that you could have looked at price from and found an entry. And you have price displacing through this. You actually have a high, low, taking stops, higher high. It's a breaker model in there, a little baby continuation version inside the larger one. Then you have this return into the fair value gap there, treating it as an inversion. And then you just have this return into this fair value gap. It's inside the breaker and full delivery, taking out the buy side delivery that I was telling you guys about, which is also a previous day's high. So yeah, in terms of, where are the other moves? That's enough. That's enough, right? That's over what? 100 plus handles per usual, 130. I can't say that you want to watch for this low to that high. Watch the 50%. Watch this fair value gap still. DXY is running higher, so maybe it causes an upset. I think that, yeah, there's our first presented fair value gap. Getting below that would not necessarily be the best thing. Clearly, we're in a range-bound environment ahead of NFP. So if you capture something like we just captured, what is the point in pushing harder? What's the point? There's no point. There's literally none, except greed and emotion, impatience. Ow, what the fuck? Ugh, brutal. I never broke a finger before. I broke 2 at once. What a freaking mess. And I'm able to click, see, y'all should be like, oh, this is awesome. He's showing up even with a broken finger. He cares. Even if I'm sick, I show up. I can't remember the last time I missed a call with my private group. But you guys, I show up every week. Sometimes I got to move the days, but, I care about you guys succeeding. Whether you're with me in the private group or just support me on YouTube, both are much appreciated, because it means a lot to me to be able to pass this forward. I never thought that I'd be able to do this the way that I show you guys. I mean, we all think in the beginning, like, okay, we're going to get successful, right? Like that's our motivation in the beginning. And then we think like throughout the first year, we're like, God, can I really do this? It's so hard. It's so impossible because there's just so many things that we don't know, right? And then once you're able, well, at least for me, once I was able to be profitable on my own, even a little bit, catching 20 to 30 points, that's it. Okay. Still losing, but was still able to catch 20 to 30 points and end weeks profitably. Once I hit that, I'm like, well, if I ever get to the point where, I'm at today, right? But back then when I was thinking about it, I'm like, if I can get blessed enough to do this and achieve this with how hard it's been, especially with all the crap that I was going through while I was learning, I wanted to pass it forward. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. I doubted my ability to share it because I understood it. But I was like, okay, if I have to explain it, it's hard because I don't want to do damage to somebody, and be a distraction or teach them something that's going to go against something or teach it wrong and whatnot. So now, having you guys and anyone that watches me, regularly, who sees what we're able to accomplish, who then learn and then go do it on their own and keep me updated. I mean, that's definitely right up there with me being successful myself. You know, I mean, it's a really fascinating thing because I know how impactful this is. I'm sure you guys are all aware of it too. You know, that's why you're doing it. That's why you haven't given up. And if you've struggled and blown accounts and have faced down continuous failure, yet you're still here and you still get up and you're excited still, that just tells you that this is meant for you. You know, and even though you may not be there right away, it may take a little longer. Everything worth having takes time, and generally it's hard to get. But that makes it even more special because then once you get it, you know, it means a whole lot more. You respect the craft a whole lot more. And anybody that's talking nonsense or just, you know, hyping up all this stuff that's completely not true, you become like a hawk with this stuff. Like, you know, like, okay, well, that person's probably full of shit. like I know that person's not telling the truth. You know, oh, they don't even call it live. They can't even call it before it happens, let alone show monetary proof. They're just not worth it. You know, at a minimum, if people are teaching online, I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I know I have new students sometimes. If a person that you're learning from only gives you pre-recorded videos, do not listen to them. This requires action. ICT has moved the bar. At least that's how I see it. You know, you shouldn't even speak unless you can call the market live. If you have a product or whatever, if you just have a YouTube channel or making content and whatnot, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you try to provide a service in any way or sell a product in any way related to your trading, if you cannot come out and at least do this, right? What are you doing? You're putting a bad name in this industry. So then people like me who truly know what's going on, who prove it, it's like a hard thing to break into people's head. Like, it's trustworthy. Trust me. It's hard to get that. You know, so just kind of go back to what I was saying earlier. That's what makes you guys being here mean so much, because I know how hard it is to trust people. You know, but again, if they can't prove things to you, at least like in this capacity, for at least 3 months, which I've done for now years, right? Don't listen to them. Don't waste your time. It's already hard enough. It already takes long enough, right? There's no need for it when there's resources like this community, and other, you know, the handful of others that are really good aside from ICT himself. But again, we are the most accessible. My students are very helpful. I myself try to be as helpful as I possibly can with everyone that comes to me. So, you know, if it was my opinion that everyone's going to go off of, we're the best community in trading. Okay. At least in this realm of things, with how we do things. It's the best, most supportive. I may not be the best trader. I don't ever claim to be. But this is definitely one of the best, if not the best, community. It's tiny, it's small, it's exclusive. I'm not the biggest content creator. But my charts speak, and they speak very loudly. And my students, their charts are speaking pretty loudly as well now. And I'm super proud of all of you, including those of you that are here on YouTube that keep me updated. You know, this stuff is really, really difficult. And your sphere of influence is very important to protect. So yeah. This wick in here, by the way, just coming back, this wick, price trading down into it, we now have this high to that low. 50% should not be traded to. This should remain a breakaway gap. we should continue to push. So if you were like a 5-minute time frame trader, something maybe setting up for the 5-minute leg. Assuming the DXY does reject, think about this wick here. If it's bearish, order flow is going to have to confirm that the 50% gets closed below and does not overtake the whole wick. If it overtakes it, it turns to a potential inversion. It's also a balanced price range. So it may be an inverted BPR that turns to target the high up here. So yeah, watch this low here. Let me see. Tony said, made up my last for Monday. Okay, good. 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 I'm having a lot of good feedback lately. Super happy about it. So yeah, we don't want to see this traded back too. Okay, it should stay above that. This wick, preferably this next candle can continue to close above. Treat this as an intermediate term low. A low that has a lower or a higher low to the left, higher low to the right, with a lower low in the middle into a fair value gap. That's how you generally classify an intermediate term higher low. We have this candle here. If price trades above this, that'll be a change in state, especially if we can respect this. Now, if it inverts this, say we break down and get below it, that'll put in jeopardy some of this deeper price delivery. But yeah, we're clearly in seek and destroy, yet even in this environment, we're still able to call good moves. All right, Rodri. Have a good day, brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, what a morning. Hopefully you guys were safe in this. Hopefully you were able to trust one thing or another based on what you understand. See this wick here for the S&P? I like that. I like that. I like it. The thing is, if we were to break this wick, though, to the downside, that puts this in jeopardy. This is a fair value gap. So this wick, the next candle here, trading into it, needs to respect the 50%. And we should be able to see pretty solid reaction away. Yeah, you see that wick right there? Like I said, this may be setting up the 5-minute opportunity. Nice wick right there. We just need to change in state. And then it should be able to try to continue. What is going on? Yeah, it is in a range. It's still kind of sideways for now. I do think that we are more likely to continue to break out. What could we reach for? Two and a half standard deviation. I mean, it just never fails. Never fails. And the deeper objective would be up here into the new week opening gap again. From that day, it's also the fair value gap in there. You notice how the buy side, sell side unfolded, came back, respected that. It's a BPR. That's why we talked about that. Man, if you guys just think back, both you guys here on YouTube and especially you guys in my private group, man, we have literally walked this entire price delivery. I mean, you just think back on some of the calls we've done. Just think about all the stuff we've talked about. We've been correct. Literally every day we've been correct. I think 1 or 2 times we had to adjust a little bit. But hey, when price tells us what it wants to do, we're there. We're there for it. You see that wick, right? We took it out, left open most of the fair value gap. Why? Because it's a balanced price range. So now we've wicked lower, stop run, it's headed higher. I like this high as an objective here. I would really like to see if we can get up there. Yeah, watch this in here. High, low, high. Let's see if it gives a failure swing here. If we respect that wick in there, beautiful. We also have this. Let's got this inversion here. If it gets above that, that's enough for me to think we got one more leg. We also got the breaker in here. It's respecting that. The up wick, 50% of that, beautiful. Wick, respect. I think dollar's still going lower too. Yeah, I think we're going to see this continue. It may set up another opportunity here for value gap inversion. We got the high up here, drop down. Watch this upper portion as another thing to study. See if we can't get us all the way up to this high, 25,500. I got my eyes there. That's looking very, very nice. Should be very sensitive to this high right here. Yeah, let's see. No real rejection should happen. It should just shoot up. Relatively equal highs. Should just start to rip. We are outside the macro, so it would have to be lower risk. And again, if this doesn't fit your model, then there's nothing to look at. There's nothing to engage. So yeah, I'm pretty confident this should hold here. I would not want to see it take this low out. That'd be potentially a problem, because then we may just stay range bound, because again, it is still sideways. But 25,500 doesn't look unreasonable. Move up in time frame a little bit. See the wick right there? That wick behavior is very telling when you're trying to see price do something. It's a very, very telling sign. clearly it's unwilling to go lower. Took out sell stops. We took out buy stops too. It is still range bound, but as long as this continues, 25,500 is what I want. We'll see if it can get up there. Again, there is NFP, so we're a day before. The closer you get, the less probable it is to have a meaningful move. And it could just be a lot of sideways chop back and forth. Still tradable, just a lot higher risk, less reliable. So we've got this wick right there. So again, breaker, got this wick here. Should not need to go down through that. If it does, again, it's just one of those times where you should probably not do much. If we move down in there, yeah, it's not giving us the sensitivity that I would have wanted. So we'll see what happens. Very much range bound right now. Flurry of price delivery. I think Mike mentioned this earlier. It's probably not, it may not have a follow through really. Yeah, it may not follow up. Yeah, Mike, I agree from earlier. I agree. Could be a problem. But again, hopefully you guys have gotten value. It's pretty incredible how many people are, well, they claim to be traders, but they're just like live stream shopping to find signals. Like the fact that no one has ever succeeded long term by taking signals, the fact that that's the facts, I mean, you would think that, I mean, there'd be more of a view of like, okay, well, who's going to teach me in the most effective way so I can learn? Instead, it's like, okay, who's going to give the most signals? It's like, what? But, you know, only the strong survive. Only people that are truly serious look at things like a business. People that are willing to be truthful with themselves, disciplined, not reckless with their money, both in trading and in their personal life. You know, generally they're the ones that do well. That's a very small minority of the population, the global population, let alone the in the U.S. That's why trading's special. Have you guys seen this thing where apparently the AI bots are trading against each other? I guess Grok is doing the best. I'm like, I really don't like what that is. I really don't like that. Because I'm like, well, like, what is that going to turn into? Because I'm sure the AI can figure out a code, right? I'm sure it can figure out how things operate. I mean, can't it? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be able to, given what we know, what we've been witnessing? I mean, I don't know. It's something that I've been thinking about like this last week. Because apparently I saw Grok, there's like a leaderboard on X where they got like Claude and OpenAI and many others, all these big companies and their AI language models, and they're trading. I'm like, what? So yeah, I don't like that. It should be made illegal to have some like commercialized bot basically scour all the information. Then again, I don't know how good they are. I'm not sure. It looks like Grok is getting really good. And X is where ICT has been for years. You know, watch us come to find out that Grok uses smart money concepts. And that's why he's blowing everybody out. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be very interesting. But yeah, so you know, while we sit and observe the last 20 minutes, if you guys got any questions, feel free to hit me with them. Otherwise, we are going to continue to monitor this. Would have much rather preferred seeing this hold up above this, because then it would have been, is it a breaker too? I think it's a breaker in itself. Yeah, low, high, lower low, then a higher high. I would have really liked to see that respect, because then that is also nested inside this larger one. So you've got the 62. Yeah, it's just kind of sideways. Let me see. Jump for another fair value gap. See this real quick. There's not really much to do. You shouldn't be in a rush. If you didn't really get a chance to participate really with all this move going higher and the move that we called earlier, you know, right there, ran over 150 points. If you didn't get a chance to engage, then you'd be waiting for the next macro. If you miss one macro, you would have to move to the next macro. Right? And then if you have what? 3 opportunities. You have 550 to 610, 650 to 710, and then 750 to 810. You could do also 850 to 910 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can also add 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after to each of those endings. And those can be your windows of opportunity to either spot a move taking place so you can catch a continuation later, or like we did today, I literally found the move right in the center of the macro, or right at the start of the macro, right? And engaged, and it just blew up, right? As we thought it would once it stayed above the high here. You know, so you do that for every macro. You know, when you go into them, this is what you got to be thinking. We're approaching the 745 macro here. So, yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. As long as it stays above this high to that low, 50%, it could take this low out if it wants. But if it starts to close down below and inverts this, that's a telltale sign that we're probably going to look to try to dig a little bit deeper. And we'd have to see what happens. Otherwise, this respect to this low is creating a fractal low. higher low to left, higher low to the right. Right, it's creating a fractal low. This right here is a significant thing we want to watch. Possible change in state of delivery. Response away from this high to that low, higher high. The breaker. Right, we retraced. It's still a breakaway gap down here. Still hasn't even came into it. And then change in state of delivery may set us up to, again, target that 25,500 level that I've had your attention to. Two. So that's what I'm watching here. Go to gold. I don't think anyone can even trade gold anymore, huh? I think a lot of these firms have gotten wrecked by gold and silver. Just rug pull the crap out of them. Yeah, this is looking more and more nice. Yeah, I'm still looking to try to see if we can get up here. It's not going to change. Tapping out with a small bag. Not going to tell myself. Okay. Yeah, no worries, Maddie. Appreciate you hopping on as always, bro. Yeah, so see what happens in here. The whole bias that we've had all morning has been pretty nice. We've basically done exactly what we assumed it would do. Continue to race higher as long as we did not reject away. And then, of course, I use that SMT at the lows, and we're just continuing to go. So nothing's changed. We've been on point the whole entire call. We sat calmly through this, knew exactly when it was going to turn. Now we're back inside another macro, and what do you know? It's starting to open up yet again. So now we're going to break above this. So let's see what happens with that. Yeah, the risk of this not doing anything because we're ahead of the news tomorrow, it's definitely a worthy risk. So definitely keep that in mind. Don't do anything dumb. Don't over leverage, over trade. If you took a trade and you made money already, there's nothing to do. I mean, you could do what you want, but my opinion, once you make money, stop, especially on FOMC, NFP week, CPI, especially with the merger of two of them together. You know, they want to build up liquidity. It's the whole point. And then they come out with the news and they crush people. It's just the nature of the beast. So we'll see what happens in this macro. right? So it's now looking like it wants to punch a little lower. It's got this consolidation, so it's not quite ready to do much. The sensitivity above this, and now the sensitivity that should have been seen here if it was going to move, it's kind of being denied. They're kind of holding price. So now we're going to enter the 750 macro. The dollar's tanking. Yeah, this is fake. This is definitely fake. In a normal condition, that would be a fake drop here with the indices, with the dollar being so exaggerated. Like, geez, the thing is falling off the map. Oh, dude. Freaking finger hurts. Ugh. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. We'll definitely bring us to a close by 8. Give it like 10 more minutes. If we just continue this consolidation up to 8 o'clock, they may just hold price. Watch this high here too. If it takes this low out and then we displace above that, that becomes another breaker. And we're also above I think it's a suspension block. Yeah. Where's it at? Yeah, that's the high of the suspension block. So yeah, there's nothing to do. That's how it treats this. Remember, we have this high, low, higher high, dropping dollar. We have this high right here. It should be able to hold that. It should be able to go through to the buy side. Shit, we got to watch this. It can't break through the 50% of this. It could take this out. Maybe it wicks through it a little bit. So be it. This is a nasty range-bound environment. So do not push. Do not do anything reckless. Okay. It's just not worth it. Ahead of CPI and NFP, it doesn't have to come up here. DXY sure looks convincing that it is, right? That it should send it up there. But we're in a heavily manipulated environment. Look at it. Look at that. Holy crap. Freaking dog. Squealed. Damn, probably gotta go check and see if he's okay. Holy crap. That was loud. We had that new day opening gap here too. Price rejected that very aggressively. Pretty nice. See, we're still not out the woods about this going to the buy side. Yeah, we still have this as a bullish breaker. It's also a bullish order block on that 15-minute chart. So price is going higher, took the high, but it took the low too. So it's returning back into it. And as long as we stay above this, we should be okay. From this high to that low, 50% of that should not be violated. If it stays above that, we'll be good, right? Unless it wants to just go sideways, which, like I said, could be the case. It's already had a flurry of price delivery this morning. We were able to call it. And now we're kind of just, hanging out. Dollar is sure convincing, so maybe at some point it opens up. It's not quite ready yet. And we're not going to force it to be ready. If we move up a little bit. So we got this wick here, wick here. We're definitely monitoring all that. This wick right here, you see that the body's closed below it. It's not necessarily exciting, or it's not excited to get outside of it yet. If this high up here was going to be taken, right, this 25,500, if it was going to be taken and it was going to be smooth, it would have traded through it, came back down into this, and then just continued. See, look, now we're pulling back to the smack to the center of the range. So yeah, we still got this fair value gap. Like I said, it could sweep this out, especially if dollar keeps dropping. It could sweep this out and then give us a turnaround. But we're in observation mode at the moment. There's nothing to engage. I don't trust the shorts because dollar is just so weak. We do have S&T at the highs. All right, we do have S&T at the highs. See what happens. Yeah, let's see if this candle turns into a wick. Let's see if that was just a wick. Yeah, that was a nasty reaction from that upper portion of the suspension block. Sheesh. That thing came down crashing hard, huh? If we go to the 30-second. Let's continue to keep this in mind. Yeah, now we got a inversion here. Do got the trend line liquidity up here too. So let's see how this is treated. It looks like this run below this low is just a wick. If we rip, right, if it just starts rampaging, that'll have just simply been a wick. This high, low, higher high. Could potentially look at that as a bullish breaker there. We are inside of this range-bound environment, so it's very low probability. So definitely keep that in mind. All right, let's see how this is treated. High, low, higher, high. Dollar's dropping. Dollar has a pretty obvious target down there. It's really having a tough time breaking through this low of this. Is it a breaker? Is it a breaker? Wait, what was that? Oh, it's a fair value gap. See, it's going to have to start moving really, really soon. We're getting into lunch territory. So if we go to the 30-second chart, only thing I'm looking to see, I need to see this high get taken out. If that gets taken out, there may be something reasonable here, timing-wise, to then try to catch something going to the buy side. But if it doesn't do that and it just continues this lackluster sideways behavior, we'll be able to tell in the next 5 minutes. At least I am. I'm gonna be able to tell in 5 minutes, because if nothing happens, then see, it's gonna be the end of the day. So. Something we got to keep in mind too, we have this, right? If it refuses to get up here and doesn't quickly ride through it, we have overlap here, down movement here, respect, 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 multiple times trading into it, and it rejected, and we're just gravitating to the middle of the range. Straight consolidation, back and forth, range bound, pre-NFP. So we'll see what happens. Let's see how it treats that high right there. Yeah, it's pretty lackluster. Let's see what happens with this candle. Yeah, it's hanging around too long. So yeah, I guess we'll leave it there. It's not really giving too much of an exciting move, so I don't really see anything. So today was pretty insightful. We talked about a lot of things. Hopefully you guys got value. If you did get value, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all hanging out. We'll be live again on YouTube on Sunday. It's going to be a very, well, not super early, but, well, for me it's super early, but for a lot of you, it's probably not too early. So we'll be live again on Sunday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, we'll do a breakdown and kind of review what happened for the rest of the week. I'll be sending out markups, obviously, in my free Discord and my private group. Information for the private group for those that are interested. There's a QR code on the top of the screen and in my description. And if you are trying to make like a switch from one prop firm to Tradeify, I do have the ability to get you guys some discounts. So I just use the code WMG. If not, so be it. But if you support the channel and you are trying to make a switch, I do encourage you to go ahead and use that. You don't have to, obviously, but that option's there. Okay. So again, thank you guys for your support. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you don't do anything, or hopefully you don't get, too crazy for the rest of the week. We got NFP and CPI, so be very cautious. And yeah, hopefully we could end the week, continuing to be positive. Okay. Let me know if you guys need anything. I'm always open for DMs and whatnot. So yeah, with that being said, God bless you. Again, thank you for all the support, and I will catch you beautiful people on the next one.